A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. The fragile week-old Gaza ceasefire agreement has been violently shattered, as the Israeli military launched a series of targeted airstrikes across the Strip on Sunday, October 19, 2025. Israel's actions were in direct response to what the Israel Defense Forces, IDF, termed a blatant violation of the ceasefire agreement, after troops operating near Rafah came under anti-tank missile and gunfire attack. The immediate return to hostilities, the most serious breakdown since the truce took effect, has drawn international condemnation and dimmed hopes for a lasting peace. The strikes, concentrated in the southern city of Rafah and central Gaza, mark a perilous escalation, with both sides quickly trading accusations of being the primary aggressor. The armed wing of Hamas, the Izz ad-Din al-Qassam brigades, swiftly denied any involvement in the clashes, stating its full commitment to the ceasefire and claiming that communications with its units in Israeli-controlled areas were cut off months ago. The immediate question now is whether the U.S. brokered agreement, intended to pave the way for a major long-term peace plan, can withstand the renewed pressure. The current round of violence tests an already tenuous U.S.-brokered ceasefire agreement that officially took effect on October 11, 2025. This truce followed 2 years of devastating conflict initiated by the October 7, 2023, attacks. The peace deal's Phase 1 stipulated the release of all living Israeli hostages, a proportional release of Palestinian prisoners, an Israeli pullback to the Yellow Line, a defined area inside Gaza, and a significant increase in humanitarian aid. However, the days leading up to Sunday's strikes were rife with friction. Tensions had soared over delays in the return of the remains of deceased Israeli hostages, which the Hostages Family Forum had already labeled a blatant violation of the agreement by Hamas days earlier. Simultaneously, the Rafah border crossing, a crucial artery for aid, remains closed, and aid agencies consistently reported critical shortages due to ongoing Israeli restrictions, despite the ceasefire terms. The catalyst for Sunday's military action, which involved both fighter jets and artillery, was a hostile engagement in the southern Rafah area. The IDF released a full statement confirming the airstrikes, asserting that their forces were operating to dismantle terrorist infrastructure in the Rafah area, in accordance with the ceasefire terms. The military statement detailed the incident. Earlier today, terrorists fired an anti-tank missile and gunfire toward IDF troops operating to dismantle terrorist infrastructure in the Rafah area. In response, the IDF has begun striking in the area to eliminate the threat and dismantle tunnel shafts and military structures used for terrorist activity. These terrorist actions constitute a blatant violation of the ceasefire agreement, and the IDF will respond firmly. According to an Israeli military source, the retaliatory strikes hit more than 20 targets by Sunday afternoon, including tunnels and buildings used by militant operatives. In a significant counter-narrative, Hamas and its armed wing, the al-Qassam brigades, categorically denied any active involvement in the Rafah fighting. The al-Qassam brigades issued a statement affirming its full commitment to the ceasefire and claiming that Rafah is a red zone under Israeli military control where contact with its units has been severed since March 2025. Senior Hamas official Izzat al-Rishq doubled down on the denial, accusing the Israeli leadership of political maneuvering. In a statement, al-Rishq said, Hamas affirms its full commitment to the ceasefire agreement and stresses that it is the Zionist occupation that continues to violate the agreement and fabricate flimsy pretexts to justify its crimes. This reflects a pattern of mutually exclusive claims over breaches of the truce, often centered on the Israeli-controlled buffer zone known as the Yellow Line. The renewed strikes immediately led to civilian casualties, adding to the already catastrophic humanitarian toll of the conflict. According to the OCHA Humanitarian Situation Update number 329, based on data from the Gaza Ministry of Health, MO, and published on October 9, 2025, the total number of Palestinian fatalities from direct violence has reached 67,173 as of October 7, 2025. Among these, approximately 20,179, or about 30%, were children. Additionally, the report notes a total of 169,780 Palestinians injured, as recorded by the Mo in Gaza. These figures underscore the catastrophic human toll of the ongoing conflict. While the Gaza Ministry of Health, Mo, reported 67,173 fatalities as of October 7, 2025, estimates on the combatant-to-civilian breakdown vary significantly. A study by the OHCHR, which cross-verified fatalities, found that approximately 70% of Palestinians killed in residential buildings were women and children. Other independent analyses estimate that roughly 80% of total Palestinian fatalities are civilians, based on Mo data profiles. The government media office in Gaza reported that, prior to Sunday's major airstrikes, Israel had committed 47 violations since the ceasefire took effect, resulting in 38 deaths and 143 wounded Palestinians. The most recent strikes on October 19 added to this toll. Following the initial reports of the attack on IDF troops, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ordered his security forces to respond with decisiveness. His office confirmed that he instructed the army to take firm action against terror targets in the Gaza Strip. Israeli Defense Minister Yisrael Katz echoed this hardline position, stating that the response was a warning. Paraphrased from the minister's statement, Katz warned that Hamas will pay a heavy price for any shooting and violation of the ceasefire, and if the message is not understood, the intensity of the responses will increase. The renewed fighting has also emboldened the right wing of Netanyahu's coalition. Far-right politician Itamar Ben-Gvir publicly called for the prime minister to order the IDF to renew full-scale fighting in the Strip at full strength, arguing that the belief in Hamas adhering to the agreement was a false illusion. Beyond the formal denial of responsibility for the Rafah attack by the Al-Qassam brigades, the general mood among Palestinian leadership remains focused on accusing Israel of systematically undermining the truce. The government media office in Gaza stated on October 19 that the continued closure of the Rafah crossing, a violation in itself, coupled with cross-border shootings, demonstrates Israel's intent. The reignition of violence confirms the fears of many international observers that the peace deal remains deeply fragile, resting on a foundation of unresolved core issues. Hadi Amar, a scholar at the Brookings Institution, highlighted the monumental challenges ahead, even before the strikes. After 2 years of excruciating violence, the daily bloodshed has paused. The harder work now begins. This work involves addressing the physical destruction of Gaza, which requires billions in aid, and establishing a credible political pathway. Regional diplomats, speaking on condition of anonymity, had previously noted that the first days and weeks of the ceasefire were expected to be tense and scratchy, with a high potential for minor breaches. This current escalation, however, moves beyond scratchy to a near collapse. UN experts have consistently warned that any peace plan, including the current one, that does not unconditionally address fundamental international law and Palestinian self-determination is a recipe for further injustice, future violence, and instability. The experts specifically criticized placing conditions like the demilitarization of Gaza without addressing Israeli demilitarization. The immediate humanitarian impact is twofold: renewed fear and halted reconstruction. Many Palestinians had cautiously begun returning to their devastated homes in northern Gaza following the ceasefire's implementation. The airstrikes, particularly those reported in central and northern areas like Jabalia and Nuseirat, risk reversing this minimal return to normalcy. The ongoing closure of the Rafah border crossing to aid, confirmed by Israel to stay closed until further notice, is critically problematic. With humanitarian aid already critically scarce, this closure blocks essential supplies needed for a population facing widespread health issues and malnutrition. An average of 4 aid workers have been killed each week in Gaza so far in 2025, underscoring the lethal difficulty of operations even under a supposed truce. One resident in Rafah, whose family had just returned to what little remained of their home, was quoted by local media expressing despair. "We knew it wouldn't last. The sound of the explosions is a knife in the heart. We just want to live without fear, even if we live in the rubble." The pressure is now squarely on the mediators, the United States, Egypt, Qatar, and Turkey, to salvage the agreement. The immediate next steps will determine if the conflict reverts to full-scale war, The Gaza airstrikes on October 19th represent a severe crisis point. The next 72 hours of diplomatic activity will either cement the truce's failure or force. That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.